Why did Europeans go around saying they discovered everything, even though people were already on the lands when they got there? Well, the reason is because they created something for themselves to justify anything they do called the doctrine of discovery. It's an actual belief. They created it. It was only meant for many Europeans. Okay? And yeah, it's called doctrine. It's the doctrine they live by, doctrine of discovery. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so here it is. In short, um, the doctrine of discovery went back into the Holy Bible and they pulled out certain scriptures that they wanted to justify what they were getting ready to do across the world. As we all know, the Holy Bible was written prior to this doctrine of discovery, and no one interpreted the Old Testament or the New Testament as these Europeans decided they were going to do. Okay? They twisted the doctrine. So they went and took out verses from the Bible, and then they said, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make a doctrine, another doctrine called the doctrine of discovery. So in essence, they weren't getting anything from the Bible. They weren't looking at the Bible, reading it and interpreting it correctly. They didn't even use the whole Bible, because if they did, they would know to love thy neighbor. They would know not to go stealing. They would know not to do all of that. But that's not what the doctrine of discovery was. The doctrine of discovery, to they wanted it to defend their evil. So not only did they continue using the name Christian, okay, but they also said, we're just going to twist this stuff for how we want to use it and make another doctrine. So what the doctrine of discovery did was allow them to decree anything that anywhere that they went, they were able to declare that they discovered. Okay? Even if people were already on the land. The doctrine of discovery would declare the land vacant because those were not going to be considered humans. Yeah, so this is why they went around calling people savages and three-fourths human and stuff like that. Yeah. It was the doctrine of discovery. As long as those weren't people, they okay, well, we can just say they're not people. Okay? And you know that's not biblical at all, right? Well, that's what they did. I'm telling you, it's a whole different doctrine. And so let's say for when they went to the West Indies, they said, oh, these are savages. Oh, we can take over these people. These people are nothing. Yeah, they're savages. They don't have any iron. They don't have anything. So, and he read a proclamation. The indigenous people of the land had no clue what he was reading. It was a proclamation, y'all. That's how they claimed the land. That's how Columbus claimed the land. It was a proclamation. I declare, well, I don't know, whatever he said, right? And so that's how he said we discovered it through the doctrine of discovery. And they really honestly didn't consider the people. And what the proclamation did and the doctrine of discovery did, it allowed them to declare, even though they were looking at people in their faces and talking to them and looking at them, right? They could declare the land vacant. Because just because those people were not like them and did not believe like them, did not look like them, nothing, did not act like them, nothing, they weren't people. I'm not lying. So they went around as whole false prophets, all the way through now. So like every single history book that you've ever read talking about they discovered this, this is what you're actually reading. This is what you're reading. The doctrine of discovery. It's their belief system that they created so that they could run and conquer the world. And it's not biblically based. They only took portions, they picked through the Bible. And they said, we're going to make this mean this. So they were literally just taking stuff and spinning it how they wanted to spin it. Well, okay, so if we can't just take lands, because what they did was, like for instance in Genesis, it said, in the Bible in creation, he made mankind over everything, and he said, go and subdue the land. Common people with Okay, people with no ulterior motives knows exactly what that means, right? But with the doctrine of discovery, they said, "Oh, no, 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 let's take this and let's go subdue the land," right? It says mankind, we're over the land, let's go subdue it. So when they went to other lands, they would consider them less than human. Because if in fact they would consider them human, then they are breaking the doctrine. So they said, well, we're going to twist this up real quick. We're going to make it fit for what we want to do. So the quote unquote discovery was to basically do things that God would not have them to do. Okay. They went to rob, pillage, kidnap. They went to do all sorts of things, right? And they would always work their way around somehow the actual doctrine because they didn't want to read the whole thing. They didn't want to live by it. So there you have it. Yeah, and that was what is it called? Palpal? Palpal? I'm not Catholic, but yeah, that's what happened. They it was some kind of legal framework that would tell them they could go through and do this. They would just they started believing something other than what the Bible teaches, all out of greed. And they knew what they were doing was wrong, but it did not matter, right? Because they weren't following the actual doctrine and they knew it. They knew it. So that's called the doctrine of discovery. That's what they lived by, not the Bible. They lived by the doctrine of discovery. Now, is it a book? No, it's a belief. It's legal stuff that they just decide, okay, we're going to change this, we're going to change this, we're going to do this just to fit their own narrative. So basically, they live in a la la land that they create based off this doctrine of discovery. And it harmed everybody else. So, did they discover anything? No. But according to their doctrine of discovery, they did. It's a European belief. And the doctrine of discovery isn't really over. Not really. They still kind of live by it.